Hello and welcome to DIY Data 5. I'm your host, Michael Yerg. Today is June 2nd, 2021, and this is episode 24, the interview of Rodney Shively. Today I'm going to be interviewing my friend and fellow Six Flags enthusiast and DIYer, Rodney Shively. Say hi, Rodney.
Hi.
Somebody I've known for a very long time. We've gone to the same church, and I've talked to him a few times about his DIY projects. And it's been a while since I've done an interview episode, so I thought it'd be a great time to bring on another person to interview. And I thought with what he'd had going on over the last definite few months during COVID, I guess he thought a great time to do some projects. And I thought it'd be a great time to bring him on and talk about those projects. So we're going to get into the interview, waste no time. So first, Rodney, if you can, I'd like to just give you time to give a brief intro of yourself. And then we get in, talk to about your projects. And then I'd like to talk some questions just behind you as a DIYer and those kind of things as well once we're done with the project talk. So go ahead and give a brief intro of yourself.
Sure. Well, as you said, my name's Rodney Shively, and it's great to be on the show today. Appreciate it. And I haven't always been a DIYer. I was really afraid of some of the bigger projects that now I've been actually able to accomplish. Have always done like painting and small little things, but you're right. Over COVID, things were getting this. You're at home more, and you see things that need to be fixed, and so you have the extra time. And I figured, you know what? Let's take a shot at it. And so I've been able to do a couple things, and the more I've done, the more confidence, of course, I've gained. And my wife loves it because then things get done around the house. And also, I have two boys, and so kind of trying to show them a little bit things that they could maybe help with, or at least know that they could at one day maybe accomplish themselves. So it's really been kind of a family thing. My wife gives all the ideas, of course, and then asks lots of questions if I can do that or do this. And then it just depends. I have a neighbor across the street who does everything, it seems like. And so if I'm not sure, I'll give him a call or run over there real quick and ask him how to do stuff, and he is usually really helpful, lets me borrow tools that I don't have, and stuff like that. So it's been an adventure, not with some injuries and some minor, but injuries at times, and a lot of just learning by doing. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm glad to talk about it today and hopefully share some ideas and some insights that may save some people some problems that I've had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose of this podcast is, sharing the experiences and the excitements and the joys and the hopefuls that people don't make the same mistakes we did as well.
Right.
Like I literally just shared, today was a experiential moment for me. I was troubleshooting the AC at my father-in-law / my house, and I got a little injury for those who look at. Actually, I got some scrapes on my legs too because I was up in the attic trying to figure out what was going on. And it was a high pressure switch in the condenser that was a little button that you just go like this, and it fixes the problem. And it took me talking to my cousin, who's an HVAC technician, and him like, oh, yeah, you should have sent me the schematic to begin with. Go push this button.
Great.
Great. Okay, thanks. That was, he does commercial stuff now. So, it's been 6 years since he's done it, but eventually it got fixed and we didn't have to call it a professional, luckily. But, I got cut and scraped and learned a whole lot in the process, even though a lot of it is stuff I remember doing. It was just a DIY half a day that saved me a bunch of money, luckily.
That's good.
So, it's a good thing to hear too, that, this is a family type endeavor for you guys. You're not just, whittling away down in your own basement, while your kids are off, just doing nothing. I feel like that would kind of be a wasted opportunity. Can you talk a little bit to how your kids have been included in some of these? I know your kids are definitely a little bit older than mine. Mine's 11, so.
Yeah, I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. And so a lot of it is they've asked to help paint, and I'm still a little bit leery on that, depending on which area of the house it is, because if it's a real public area, I don't want it to be an absolute mess. But I've just, some of it's been them helping putting things together, like when we were doing the project we're in now, we bought some new furniture stuff at IKEA, and so of course, if you've ever been to IKEA, everything comes in a box,
Hmm.
and you have to put it together. So I've gotten their involvement to help put furniture together. I've helped that they've actually my youngest, who's 11. He has a real good eye for like design and has really good ideas, and so he's been uh, a lot involved in things that we're currently doing, and just the design of things or how we want to decorate it or the color schemes. Comes with some really interesting ideas that I don't always know would ever work, but at the same time, he's had some really good ideas that we've gone with and it's worked out great. They help me with like if I'm doing drywall, they'll help to screw things in, or they'll ask about the different tools that I do kind of know about. They do a lot of the helping of moving of furniture, especially
Mm.
the 14-year-old, because I'm like, I need a little more muscle on this. Um, and so he's like, oh, all I have to do is move furniture. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's part of this too.
Yep.
So they've been involved in different things like that, different steps. And then they help with obviously the cleanup and things like that, and figuring out, which is, if I need a certain tool, explaining to them which one I need out of the toolbox and stuff, so they know what it's for. And then, giving them opportunity to use it. Sometimes they mess things up, and that's part of the learning process too, because I mess things up. So we kind of do it together, but they enjoy it. They like having the hands-on stuff, and they like to see the finished product. So
Yeah, that's always the fun part when you can sit back and be like, oh, it's done. I can
it's
enjoy it finally.
right.
Right. All right. So I'm gonna get into the first projects that you sent me some pictures of the bathroom. So bear with me as the IT guy tries to figure out computers. Bathroom. All right. So here I'm gonna let you talk about this briefly, and then I'll go to the next pictures. Um,
Okay.
so go ahead.
Um, this is our main bath, our full bathroom upstairs, and this was actually the first big project. Like I said earlier, I've installed ceiling fans, I've put in light fixtures, I've done a lot of painting. Painting was my thing, and it still is, but that was more the extent. But at the beginning, right when COVID was happening, maybe a little bit before, um, our old bathroom sink was just a small cabinet with a small sink, and it was just so small. My wife didn't have a place to put anything, any hair product or makeup or whatever. And so she really wanted to get a bigger cabinet, and so we dove into this thinking, okay, it'll just be a cabinet. And I'd never done that before, but I thought, well, we'll try it. And then she asked if we could look at doing some making the walls look nicer, because there was some previous damage to the walls before we owned the house that they tried to fix but didn't do a real great job with it. So there was some holes, and the toilet paper dispenser had come off the wall, and I Jimmy rigged it, and it looked so bad, but at the time it made it work. So um, that was driving her nuts. So anyway, this was one of the projects that I talked to my neighbor across the street about first, because I'd never done wainscoting. I'd never replaced a whole cabinet with plumbing and all that kind of thing. And he showed me that he had done his bathroom and showed me how he walked me through it, gave me some things to look for. So off to Home Depot we went. Found actually the wainscoting is PVC. It's not wood, it's PVC, but it cuts like wood. But yet you don't have to paint it, and it doesn't warp. It's water resistant. So it was a really good choice for a bathroom. And so we bought that, and we got the cabinet. And so I have other pictures that show what it looked like. And the look of the bathroom is the same, except everything is bigger. So like the cabinet was a 30-inch cabinet, and we now it's a 48-inch cabinet. So we got a very significantly larger cabinet. We had to disconnect the plumbing. So it's a new cabinet, new countertop, new faucet. And then the mirror is considerably larger than the one that was there. And the old mirror covered up a medicine cabinet hole in the wall. And so when I took the old mirror off, we put in sheetrock and covered over that hole. So now if you took that mirror off the wall, if we ever wanted to change it, or somebody else, we sell the house, somebody else wanted to change it, you take the mirror off, it's just a flat wall there instead of the big hole. But then because this mirror is so much wider, we then had to move the light fixtures. And so I'm not an electrician, but my neighbor across the street has worked with electricity and so like that. So he helped. He did come over and help me do that, to move, and we had to move those lights probably 8 inches both directions. And so the electrical boxes, we had to reconfigure those. One is mounted to a stud, another one's not. So it has a little support bar there. And then we had to move the outlet over. So there were some electrical things there that I did get some help with because I just did not have any experience with that. The wainscoting was great in the fact that I used a table saw. Some of this was the first time I'd ever used this. And so I watched YouTube. I figured, well, you can learn how to do anything. So I watched a little bit of YouTube videos and figured out how to use the table saw, and then used a miter saw for the first time because I had to do a lot of 45-degree cuts, especially when you get over by the toilet area and the tub area. They were 45. So I learned how to do that. And when I was done, my neighbor came over and he could not believe that it was the first project that I really did because the cuts were pretty good. And then even you can see on the right side of the picture where I measured the wainscoting and the chair rail so it ran even with the backsplash of the sink and stuff. So just getting those right measurements and all that was just really that was new, kind of a new experience because I mean, I'd used a tape measure before, but when they get the little itty bitty little marks in there, learning out how many those are and all that kind of stuff and really putting it, to use. So that, like I said, that was the first big project. And when I was done with that, I literally felt like I probably could do pretty much everything. So yeah, and there you see the toilet. I had the 45s all the way around that. And then I had to get down beneath down and make cuts around the plumbing for the toilet, and then be able to cover that over. And so it really was it was one of the biggest projects it was the biggest project I had done by myself. But when I was done, I was like, this is pretty cool. And I felt like, okay, the next thing that we get challenged with, I'm going to try and do it myself before, bringing somebody else in or, whatever. Cause I felt like just really good. And now, I mean, my wife loves the bathroom. She loves it because it's modern looking and it's easier. The wainscoting helps to keep things cleaner because she can just wipe it off with a damp cloth kind of thing. So, and it's glued to the wall. And then every so often, a little finish nail just to keep it in place, but it's glued to the wall. That's how they recommend the best way to put it up. So,
right. Yeah. Cause that gets it up there and then the finish nail just keeps it there pretty much while it dries.
Right. So, but that was my first big project. So,
right. And the shower's already there, so you didn't have to really.
Yeah, the shower's already there. We've thought about pulling that out, but haven't done that just because it's not really it's not in bad condition. But it's big enough, so we're leaving that for now.
Okay. And then
that's the old. Now that's you can see that's the old cabinet and the old mirror and the old lights. So you can see how everything was just real congested.
Yep.
And there was just so now the new cabinet is just way bigger. And then that's the old plug and the lights, when we moved it, then the mirror covers the old plug where the old plug was and all that.
Gotta get somebody better to do my PowerPoints. Anyways.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right. So this is the next bathroom, I'm thinking?
Yeah, this is the half bath downstairs. And it was that's the old cabinet. We repurposed. We were going to get a new counter for down there, a new cabinet for down there, but we decided it's pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look great up in the corner up there, but it's still pretty solid. And of course, money we wanted to save, so we decided to resalvage this and just get a new countertop. This was paint And so again, pulled everything out, pulled the sink all out. And this was paint. They painted stripes, and we didn't want the stripes anymore. And so we had to figure out if I sanded it, or if I, just painted over it and still had the lines. And to sand it, I would never get a smooth finish. So what I did is I skim coated it with drywall compound to get the smooth finish back on the wall. So I had to put the finish coat. I had to use premix compound, and then skimmed it, and then had to let it dry, and then sand the whole thing down, and then painted it. And then the cabinet, like I said, the walls were green, cabinet was cream, and so we switched it because since it's a half bath, we wanted it to be brighter, and so that the cream walls make it a lot brighter. And then the cabinet is now the green. We painted it with a dark green, and then went and got a granite countertop that included a sink on clearance. We found that. Well, then that was a whole different project. Now that's the finished product, which it turned out really nice. But the countertop, when I set it in, it set in the cabinet fine. But when I reset the cabinet into the space, because they didn't tile the floor all the way to the wall, it was underneath the cabinet was, no tile. When I set the cabinet back into that hole or that footprint, it was leaning out. And I was like, what in the world? Come to find out, this countertop, the depth of behind where the faucet was deeper than the original. And so I had to shim and build onto the back of this cabinet with a 2x4 and build out the back of the cabinet that you wouldn't be able to see once I got it in.
Right.
But I had to build it out so that the cabinet then would be able to stand straight.
Right.
And then if you look at the very bottom of the cabinet, I had to put some trim pieces in because the floor,
right,
it was not even. So I put some trim pieces in that I just painted the same color as the cabinet, and I tacked those along the ends, along the bottom, and then against the wall. I didn't send you a picture of that, but against the wall, there's a little bit of a gap. So I used a piece of trim there just to finish everything off. So now, and then I put a new light fixture in. With this, the mirror, I still have to move the light fixture up. That's one of the things that it works and it's bright, and we moved on to something else. So eventually I'll go back.
Yeah, the mirror looks a little low.
Yeah, the mirror's low. It's just sitting on the countertop for now. And that's fine. I mean, it's a half bath, so that's why it didn't take the priority, because the half bath, because of the sink issue, I couldn't hook up the plumbing because of the way that that was the other thing too. Once I got the cabinet level, then I had to try and retrofit old plumbing with new plumbing. So that was a challenge. Finally got that worked out to where we could hook the water back up again. So once I was done with that, we're like, you know what? The light can stay there for a little while. It's not bothering anybody. So, but eventually we're going to go and raise the light up so we can actually hang the mirror.
So between these two projects, what do you think? Because this is the second bathroom project that you did.
Yes.
What do you think you learned from the first one that helped you do this one better?
I wasn't afraid of the plumbing issue, because like with the other one, I hadn't done anything with plumbing, so disconnecting things and all that. I wasn't afraid of that as much. And so when I did this, when I had the challenge of trying to get the old and the new plumbing to get together, it helped me because we had figured out something with, flexible tubing and stuff on the upstairs bathroom. So I was able to figure out some different things with this one, kind of the same idea that really, I think I would have panicked a lot more on that one when they didn't go together right away.
Yep.
As opposed to before. I knew, I'm like, I just have to go find the right part and the right pieces at Home Depot or whatever, and then get them to work together. And so I think that was one of the things I learned, that not to be afraid of that. And then also skim coating a wall. I worked for a drywall repair company, and so I've learned how to do that. And so just taking on that kind of a, redoing all your walls kind of thing. Because upstairs was the wainscoting, but the walls were fine for the most part. The wainscoting covered up a couple things, but this I had repairs to do and skim coating and all that. So I was not as hesitant to jump into this one. And I will, like I said, with the electricity of moving that light fixture, it's been more just finding the time to do it. But that one I'd actually probably just do myself, because I've done the one upstairs and know how he did it. And I've already checked, and there's enough wire just to pull the wire up to a new box. So that's easier. And again, I would not have even begun to think I could do that.
Yeah, I'm a little more experienced with electrocuting myself, that I'm more confident in that ability now. I'm not worried about electricity anymore.
No, yeah, doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anymore.
I've lost all nerve feeling.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get into the next one, which is your current big project.
Yes.
And that's your basement, which I want you to kind of get into the specifics of why you're taking it and the way that you're taking it.
Yeah.
So right now you have it in kind of a method, because it's a bigger project, obviously.
Yes.
So right now, this is, I know, just part of it. I got about 12 pictures here. So go ahead and I'll just kind of go through it a little bit quicker.
Okay.
Which, by the way, this I think is kind of where you're at right now, right?
Like, yeah, this is where I'm sitting.
Where you're sitting.
Yeah, it's where I'm sitting now. This is actually a 3-phase project. We've at least painted every other room in the house, and done some, like I said, the bathrooms, and updated those. And so the downstairs, which has been finished, the majority of it, the laundry area, and then what we call the kids' playroom, which we're turning into more like a game room, media room for the boys. Those were the areas. And then we have an unfinished mud room that has an exterior door that is just framed. And so it was concrete floor, all of that. So we've decided just to finally tackle this area, but we have to do it in 3 phases. 1, money, and 2, because of time, because of obviously what we're doing is a lot more intense. So we started with the game room, media room, just because it needed attention, but it didn't need as much as the other. So we just wanted to get it kind of knocked out. So this was painting. We did rip up in this picture, it's the old Berber carpet. We did rip that up and put in a new, more of a cut pile. This is the old walls. We had old recliners we got rid of. That furniture there, that's all gone. The only thing that's left in this room that was here before is the television, is the flat screen for the boys. The can lights were here, but I painted the ceiling, painted the walls, made them a darker blue, made it more warm. I'm sitting on the couch that you're in the picture right now. I am working on the door that goes over the electric box, because I got some cutting to do there. And then we have the half wall that has always just been ugly. And so we wanted to do something unique. And of course, reclaimed wood, barn wood is real popular. But when we priced it out, it was just several $100s, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So we went on a little excursion to find out what we could do. And we actually ended up finding sheets of paneling at Home Depot that I cut down because they were too wide. They were 48, they're 8x4, and I only needed about 40 inches. So we cut about 8 inches off, maybe 16, just shy of 16 feet. So that reclaimed wood look is just paneling that's along the wall. The cap was already there. And so that was a big improvement to make this more of that rustic look that it's real popular right now. So, but that was kind of a cheat, and yet it was much more reasonable. Cost me $40 to do the 2 sheets of paneling. They're about $20 a piece. Well, then phase 2 is the laundry room. which we replaced the linoleum. And that's that. So you can see there's the half wall that we did. There's the sheets of paneling I got putting glue, getting ready to glue them up. And so I did some wall repairs and stuff. And then the laundry room is phase two, which you can kind of see through there. So I've already taken, there were cabinets in there. I took all the cabinets out. This was a half cement wall because it's foundation. And so I needed to, I put drywall up. Again, working for a drywall company, I know how to do this now, and mudded it so that now it's a solid, it'll be a solid sheetrock wall as opposed to half sheetrock, half cement. And then we'll paint this and do some shelving and stuff on it. And then this used to be cabinets with a countertop. The gray area at the top used to be cabinets. Ripped those all out, got rid of them on Facebook Marketplace, gave them away because didn't want them anymore because we wanted the space to be bigger. And we're actually going to put, we're going to attach, the idea is like a floating countertop with a leg. My wife wants to do like a butcher block that'll be an area to fold clothes and or put, hamper underneath, just have a space that's a little bit nicer for the laundry room area. The stairs from upstairs to down, and that's that was the concrete. And then we're working to enclose. I've got to build out this wall where the plumbing is. And we're going to enclose that so that's not visible. It's kind of hidden by the washer and dryer, but we have to do a little more cosmetic work on that. The stairs we had to take off and reset, and they were falling down. And the sill plate up at the top was deteriorated, and they were basically, my wife actually, it was hilarious. She called me and said, I took the stairs down. I was like, how did you do that? She goes, with my bare hands. So that was a little scary that she could rip them off with her hands. But then we put a new sill plate up there and reattached the stairs, and come to find out, they had purposely slanted the stairs because that top step is a little bit of the first step is not a normal step from upstairs. It's only like 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So they slanted the stairs to give a regular step, but then the stairs couldn't continue to be that way. So we had to straighten the stairs. So we now have this little landing at the top that we have to get used to. It's a little weird, but the stairs are straight and level, which is safer in the long run. So this is phase two. And I'm still working on it. I just finished the mudding of the drywall last night. So that's phase two. And then phase three, which I'm standing actually in the mudroom. We are going to finish it out. We've got to frame in 2 of the walls because they're cement. And so I got to frame those in. And then we're going to make that into an actual mudroom and then a secondary office area. So we're going to put a desk and computer and stuff like that. But that's phase three, and that's down the road. Probably not till at least the fall. We'll do that just because, again, time and cost.
So your wife is the project manager and the architect and the destruction.
Yes, she is.
Architect.
Yeah, she.
Your sons are the the grunts basically.
Yes, they are. They had to, when we got rid of the carpet, the Berber carpet, they were in charge of ripping it up, cutting it, rolling it, and getting it outside.
Actually, I would have thought that was fun as a kid, to be honest. You're giving me a blade.
Actually, they liked it because it was construction,
Exactly.
They were allowed to, and of course, I had to talk about the safety of a utility knife and that kind of thing.
Yeah, don't cut.
But overall, they loved it.
Yeah, and then Dad gets to do all the hard stuff.
I do all the hard stuff
and not mess it up.
And so you talk about a Band-Aid on your hand.
Yeah.
When I went to put the new sill plate at the top of the stairs, that new thing, it was late at night. I should have been in bed. I was not. I was trying to get done because the floor, we did have the floor installed because it's one huge sheet of vinyl that goes from the laundry room into the mudroom. And that was a bigger project and I had no experience and I wanted a professional so that it would be done right.
Hmm.
I was taking on enough other things with the walls and stuff, but I was putting that in. I was screwing it in, and the screw, the drill bit came out of the screw and went into my thumb. And I shattered my nail and chipped the thumb. I chipped the end of the bone in my thumb, and actually had to go to the ER. It was horrible, worst pain ever. So I've learned some things like pre-drill holes, and don't do things at 11:30 at night when you should be in bed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's definitely true. So, okay, now that we're definitely through some amazing projects that you've definitely tackled a lot over the last, what are we now, a year through COVID?
yeah, yeah,
I
oh
mean,
yeah, a little over a year.
how long you been working on those?
The basement we started just about, not quite a month ago, about a month ago.
Okay, what about the bathrooms?
The bathroom took me about, I would say, from start to finish was probably 2 weeks, maybe three.
But how
Uh,
long ago did you start them
uh,
doing it? Like
Now that I started at the like January of last year.
of last year? Okay, so you
Yeah,
kind of started these actually pre-COVID, but then COVID kind of gave you free time to do
COVID
it.
gave me the half bath was during COVID.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
so you had some time to do these.
yeah. The
All
the
right.
full bath we started
Mhm.
right before COVID started, but the half bath was during.
All right. So you probably had all your materials before the spike in cost.
Yeah,
That's
sort
nice.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some of it.
some of it. Yeah.
That's good. All right. Well, I mean, that's a lot of projects. So that's good to hear too that they're going so well, at least for the outcome that you're, these are newer projects for you. You're getting outcomes that you're happy with. That's always
Yes.
a good thing. And
Yeah.
then also, having that neighbor across the street that's so experienced is always a good thing, for somebody that's going into this, to be able to glean the information off of them, and also to have the tools to borrow. Hey, why not?
Right. Right. But I
Helps.
will say this: I have started to purchase my own tools. Like I just like with this project, I bought a circular saw because I just needed it, and
Yeah,
I didn't want to constantly borrow.
yeah.
So I've
Eventually,
slowly started to build up my own tools just so that I have them all the time.
yeah. Eventually, if you feel like you're going to keep using them, there's a point. But if it's a one-off
Right.
project, two off, maybe not. So
Right. Well, and then I found out that like Home Depot, you can rent stuff.
yeah, you can run from them, but if you don't have to pay for it, why?
Right. And I usually I just go across the street and say, "Hey, you got a
Yeah,
jigsaw I can borrow?"
exactly.
He's like, "Sure."
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he tells me how to use it, so that I'm like, "Okay."
Exactly. You get free instruction too.
Right, free
Uh,
instruction.
and then if you're having a hard time, they're like, "Oh, I'll come show you. Let's go over there. See
Exactly.
what you got going
Yeah.
on." Uh, so all right. So I'm gonna get again into the interview part of just you in general
Sure.
as a DIYer now. So when
Yeah.
I go into the podcast portion of it, there'll be two parts. So I do post to YouTube separately than I do to the podcast for this. So YouTube will have all the portion of your projects, because obviously it's very visual. You're describing
Right.
something. So the podcast doesn't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Spot doesn't have that.
Right. So the podcast will have this portion of it, and the YouTube will have all the other stuff.
Okay.
So for the people who are listening to the podcast, you just missed a huge portion of the projects that Rodney has done, or is currently doing. And if you want to go see that, please go to my YouTube channel. You can find it DIY Data 5, and you'll see him talking about some of the projects he's done, some of the things he's experienced about that. And you can go and enjoy all of that content as well. But right now, we're going to get into the interview portion, where we just talked to Rodney about his DIY experiences overall, through the past and the current time, and just talk to him in general about that. So, Rodney, simply put, do you consider yourself a DIYer, a do-it-yourselfer?
I do.
You
I
do.
haven't always, but I do now.
You do now.
Yeah.
So during your explanations of your projects, you said you worked for a sheetrock company in the past.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I do
when
work for a drywall repair company.
you do or you did?
I do now,
Oh, you
currently.
do now. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought you said you did in the past. Um,
No, I do now.
oh, that's interesting. I did not know that actually. Who else do you work for?
Right now, that's my full-time job.
Oh, okay. I thought you were also a principal at one time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
Okay.
not anymore.
Wow. I am learning all these new things. What happened? Okay. That's interesting. So I'm learning all
Yeah,
these new
no,
things about this
it's
guy. I thought
yeah.
it was my friend. I must follow
That's
him
that's
more
a different
closely on
podcast.
Facebook. I know, right?
Yeah,
Anyways, so okay, cool. So you're working for a sheetrock repair company now.
yeah.
And you're learning all this new stuff with them. What kind of things have you done in the past that you would consider in the uh realm of DIY kind of fields?
Um,
Like
most
what would people
before
do in the DIY world?
before these particular projects, it was more a lot of painting. I have painted to the point of um, it's every room in the house, every room in my in-laws' house, everywhere, every home I've lived in, I've painted. So that painting was a big deal. I did get into stuff like doing, small things like installing light fixtures or putting up ceiling fans, things like that. That was relatively, I mean, it was new to me, but I figured out how to do it.
Mhm.
Um, but it really wasn't until the bathrooms and things like that I really got into bigger projects that really stretched my ability and my learning. So I would say before I just dabbled in DIY, but I really wasn't a DIYer until we moved into this house and decided to change bathrooms and stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a couple things at you, and I'm going to, and
Sure.
you're just saying, yes, I've done this. Yes, I've done that. No, I haven't done that. Have you ever
Okay.
changed your own oil?
No.
No. Oh wow. That's usually
No.
that's usually when somebody has at least done once. Okay.
No.
Have you ever had your own garden?
Yes.
Okay. A DIY thing right there.
Yes. Okay.
Um, have you ever sewn your own buttons?
Yes.
Okay. Have you
I do
ever
all the sewing.
you do all the sewing? Oh,
All the sewing. If there's a rip, if there's a
awesome. Oh,
button, I'm the one that does it.
nice. Do you fix toys?
Depends. Most of
Depends.
the time, if I need to fix them too much, they go in the trash can.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's
But
that's
yeah,
me too.
but I
But
do fix toys
okay, you fix toys.
like bike
Um,
stuff.
bike. Okay, so you'll fix that kind of stuff too. Have you ever fixed something automotive other than oil?
Not really.
No, no brake
No,
pads, nothing like that.
no,
No,
no.
not
And
an
that's
automotive
what,
type.
yeah. And that's been more just because of, well, one, not knowing how, but two,
Okay,
it's just having the materials to do that.
okay.
I've changed the flat tire.
You change a flat tire. There you go. Well, I mean, some people got AAA, so why do
Yeah.
it? I mean, there
Yeah.
was one time I
Yeah.
was like, I ain't gonna do this. This is the middle of the winter. Calling them up. I know how to do it, but I ain't gonna do it. It's too cold.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So, I mean, there are some of the things that you do DIY. You just might not think of it as a DIY
I
thing.
don't think about it as
You know what I
DIY.
mean? Some people
Yeah.
think, oh, I garden for fun. Well, yeah, but you're growing your own food. It's technically a DIY type of thing. You fix bikes. Some people just bring to the bike shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a DIY type of thing. Um, by the way, do you raise your own children?
Um, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's a
that's,
DIY that most people do, and they don't realize that because some people hire a nanny, or they send their
yeah,
kids off to
no.
boarding school. But it's a very common DIY thing that most people don't realize, but that's technically a DIY kind of thing that here in America we consider oh duh, we're going to raise our own children. But in some countries, it's very common to have a au pair or something like that, where you have somebody else kind of take care of your children for you because you're off doing something else most of the day. But anyways, I digress. All right. So you did allude to this also in your projects, but I want to bring it into this part. What would you say is your biggest reasons when you are DIYing projects? Um,
Um, Probably the biggest thing is the financial part
yeah.
of it. Um, as a matter of fact, we had somebody come in, a general contractor. I mean, a friend of mine, but a general contractor, and he gave us an estimate for redoing the laundry room, redoing the mud room, things that, not including the kids area that we've done. And when we got that quote, we were like, there's just no way. And so far, we've been able to do it on our own for a fraction of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking us a little longer, but I've saved just an enormous amount of money by doing it myself. So that financial is the biggest thing. And then it, as I said before, we try and get the kids involved. My wife's involved in, various parts of it too. So it's become things for the family to kind of do, especially when there wasn't much else to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was when we kind of did some dreaming and getting some ideas together. And then when we were able to get moving on it, we did. Right. So, but yeah, it becomes a family thing in some aspects too.
So kind of becoming like more of a passion kind of for you guys then too.
Yeah.
Especially after you've seen the first one actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, what else and that's my wife says, so you can do this, right? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'll try it, so, but it does motivate. It has motivated it to where it's become, the challenge of it has become kind of cool. I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it's like daring yourself. What can I not
exactly? Yeah.
Cool. So if you're looking at yourself now doing these projects, have you ever seen like the projects maybe that your family did when you were a kid? Like, have you ever seen like your parents have anything like in their household when you were a kid, or were they not those kind of
people? My dad would do small things. And still, well, he doesn't,
or even other family members, uncles, grandparents.
My uncle was always working on his car, always. And like I said, my dad would do certain projects that sometimes I would help him with, depending on what it was. Mm-hmm. Nothing huge, but little projects around the house. And then my brother used to race stock cars. And so he was constantly working on his stock car and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't get too involved with that, but I would watch every once in a while. So, but my brother did a lot of that kind of stuff for a long time.
So there's always something around you, somebody working on
something.
Yeah,
it seemed like it. Yeah. There was people always tinkering with certain things. Yeah. So, various times.
So you definitely have the gene in you.
Yeah.
So it's always there.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until lately, but it's there.
That's good. So how do you think, obviously, you can probably hear it in your voice, so I want to hear you say it. How do you feel going forward after all of these experiences with, anything coming up in the future, with your DIY world?
I'm trying to, right now, the phase 2, the laundry room area, I'm still working on it, but in my mind, I'm past it. Like I am itching to get to the mudroom because I want to do like building the stud walls, and I want to finish that because that's a true finishing of a room. Like it's stud walls and concrete floor. So it's bare bones. So I'm itching to get that one started. Yeah. Like I said, probably not till the fall, but I don't know if we can wait. I don't know if we'll wait that long. And my wife's kind of itching at it too, because that's one of the big things we've talked about since we moved in to this house, because it was the only room that really wasn't finished at all. And yet it's great usable space. And it's not a huge room, but it's a decent sized room that we're like, man, not only would we get the benefit of it as far as usable space, but if we ever decided to sell this house, it's going to increase the value. Whatever we're doing in there is going to increase the value of our home too. Yeah. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then our living room, and again, this goes with the company that I work for now, has popcorn ceiling, that textured ceiling, and I want to get it smooth, but it's a cathedral ceiling, so it's a little more intense. Yeah. There would have to be some scaffolding and stuff involved. Yeah. And I'm like, I do this on a regular basis, so I'm not afraid of it, but it makes me want to, I see in other places and other jobs that I do outside of my house, that I see the finished product and I'm like, I want that for my house too. So
Yeah.
that after we're done with this phase 3 thing, that's probably the thing that'll happen next eventually, is to get rid of the
popcorn.
textured ceiling
Ugh,
and make that nice. And yeah,
it's so ugly.
it's gross. Like whoever thought of it needs to be shot.
It hides
Up and
the
shot
waves.
again.
Hides
Yeah,
the
it's
waves.
horrible.
That's all it does.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So what do you think's the biggest thing that you've learned in, all of these projects that you've been doing? Like overarching, Rodney's biggest epiphany.
That with that there really is, you can really do things, you can really accomplish things if you just set your mind to it. Like, I think my confidence in my abilities and what I'm like even willing to attempt has really grown, because I've seen, now I have some experience under my belt, and I'm like, you know what? That's probably not that hard. Whereas before, a couple years ago, I would have been like, there's no way I could do that. There's no way. And now I am at least willing to kind of roll the idea around in my mind to think, okay, what could I do? Or is that something? I mean, there's certain things I know I need to leave the professionals, and I'm good with that. I know my limitations, but I think just the confidence of saying, you know what, I bet I could do that. And I would have never, I don't think I would have not been maybe so adventurous in that. I mean, to take on, and part of it I think is moving from the job I had to this, working with this, this other company. I've seen a lot of things and experienced a lot of things, and I've learned by watching and asking questions. And that has made me then come home and say, that's probably not as hard as it looks. And then I get into it and realize it really isn't as hard as it looks. And so a few things, in the current thing, I'm not sure exactly how to do, but I'm asking questions, and I'm trying to get to the right people to ask.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest takeaway for me is you really can learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that. And I'm an old dog, so but it's been good. It's been good, because I being in education for as many years as I was, a lifelong learner, always be a lifelong learner. And you think of that in context of, textbooks or school, but being a lifelong learner is developing a skill you didn't know you had, or you don't have, but you develop it anyway. So you learn how to do something. So for me, putting my hands to something and seeing it come out decent has been a really satisfying thing.
Yeah, and that actually ties exactly what I was saying pretty much in the last podcast. Learning well. It is, education isn't just, going, K through 12 and 4 years or 8 years of higher ed. It's literally the process of making yourself better to either better yourself for your basically your own situation, and to do better in whatever it is you need to do better in. And when it comes to the DIY world, it's, do I have the skill, and does it have to be better, or do I want a new skill? And the only way you can do better or get a new one is go learn it.
Right.
And obviously, if you want to be a doctor, okay, yeah, you got to go get 8 years of college and 4 years of residency or whatever. But if it's learning how to change a flat tire, ask your neighbor. Or if you have to figure out how to program something, or make a fire, or skim coat a wall, YouTube, this, that, whatever, you can figure it out. You just gotta, like you were saying, ask the question,
right.
Look for the information, that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much all this whole podcast is about, is figuring out how to get the information, figure out what the right question is, kind of thing. And then go from there. And that's really, the whole DIY mantra is, how do we find out what the right question is?
Right.
Because if you have the wrong information, you go to Google, you're never going to figure it out.
Yes.
You'll be 10 pages deep and so lost.
Yeah.
So
I've learned to be very specific if I'm searching for something on YouTube or something like that. I've been learned to be very specific, because otherwise you just go on these rabbit trails that you're like, okay, I learned nothing from that.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So final thing is, what do you think it'd be a really good piece of advice for, Rodney 5 years ago that, is, still not sure about their DIY capabilities, or a person who's just looking to get into the concept of DIY, or they're not sure if they can do a project, and it's not even having to do with big projects. Maybe the
Yeah.
guy that just wants to start changing the oil in the car, or doing home maintenance, or stuff like that.
I think start off small and celebrate the small victories.
Yeah.
Celebrate the small accomplishments.
Mhm.
So when I started doing some stuff, I was really proud of myself that I installed a ceiling fan and didn't, electrocute myself or, start a fire, and so then from that point, then, going to, installing a light fixture and things like that. And then even, then uh when I did the bathroom, the master bath, the main bathroom, that one I think I would say, start off small, but then do research, and like we just talked about, asking the right questions, and not just asking the right questions, but figure out who to ask them to.
Yep.
So like it would be, I can ask a question, but if I'm asking, an electrician how to hang wainscoting, I may or may not get the answer that I need that helps me. So I went, and of course, for me, fortunately, my neighbor across the street, I told him just in conversation what I was thinking about doing. And he was like, I've done it, come and see it. And he showed me and walked me through. So I found the right person to ask the questions to.
Mhm.
And then I think it was not being afraid to admit I didn't know it.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of the hesitancy maybe of individuals, is that you don't want to feel like stupid or that you don't know, but I didn't know. And there was nothing wrong with that. And again, being in education, we always told the kids there's no such thing as a stupid question, or
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to ask. But then as adults, we feel like we can't sometimes because we don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. So, but I think for me, it was just starting off small and celebrating, asking the right questions to the right people, and then admitting that I don't know how to do this, but I want to learn.
Yeah.
And so because of that, and then it grows. So when I started off those small things, when I did look at the big thing, I was nervous. I
Yep.
mean, not having ever done a table saw before, but I had my neighbor came over, showed me how. I practiced on junk
Yep.
that
You
wasn't,
don't you
I
don't go
wasn't.
to the $50 piece of plywood anyway.
Right, right. I don't go for the cherry wood stuff. I started, with plywood, but then I think, again, and growing up, and it even, several years ago, you didn't have, the YouTubes and the Google and all that stuff. You didn't have all that. So for somebody that started off now, I mean, the resources are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even again, plumbing. When I had the issue with the half bath and the plumbing not matching up, I went to YouTube to say, okay, how do you get these pieces to, you got this piece here and this piece is here. How am I going to get those two pieces to connect? Because this one's fixed to the wall and this one's fixed to the sink. I got to get them to get together,
Baby,
you
just
know,
meet me in the middle.
right in the middle. And so I went, and then I went and looked. Okay, I can't be the first person to have this problem,
Yep.
this dilemma. So let's figure out where to ask the questions and who to ask it to, and figured out that there's certain pieces of pipe that bend, and you can do it with this, and you can do it with that. And I was like, okay, and I figured it out.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to learn. I guess that don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to learn. Start small.
Great. Oh, this was fun. That's for sure.
It was.
I learned something new about you too today. You'll be getting a text after this.
This is great.
So, all right. Well, I think we could wrap up today. It was great talking to you, Rodney. Awesome to see the projects. It was fun finding out that you're doing the projects. I was like, oh, I know I'm going to interview next if he says yes, and you did. So
Yes.
thank you very much.
No problem. It was fun.
Okay. Well, everybody, I pray you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe and share. Like usual, you can find me on pretty much every podcast place and on YouTube at DIY Data 5. I will see you in 2 weeks.